Hi, Passionators. I'm out and about, right? So I hope the noise factor isn't too much of a distraction for you, but I wanted to get this one out of the way because I've been hearing a lot about it just today. And that's why the title is what it really means when people say stuff like people only treat you how you allow. So there's a little bit more to it than what's popular to say. And I think it's important to make the distinction so that you have more accurate expectations as far as this is concerned. Because a lot of people don't get this one right because they don't make the distinction. So come on in and let's talk about it. It's an important one. It comes up a lot. So when people say that people only treat you how you allow, most people think the flip side of that is if I don't allow it, then they won't treat me that way. Meaning, if I don't allow it, they'll straighten up their behavior, they'll stay with me, and we'll get this thing right. Understand? Stay with me. That isn't what it actually means. And that's where people's expectations get messed up because they think it is what it means. What it actually means, I'll use myself as an example. People don't treat you how you allow. They treat you how it's in them to treat you. Case in point, I'm in a position where there are people who have literally offered to pay things off for me, to buy things for me, to do things for me that would compromise me. But they would benefit me, and of course I wouldn't have these things left to pay. All the way up to my daughter's college tuition. If I wanted to, I could take advantage of that situation, get her tuition paid, and not think twice about it. I could do that because they would allow it. But I didn't do that even though it was allowed. What people do and what you allow are two entirely different things. Dishonorable people are going to look for ways to dishonor you. So if you open the door and allow them to do that, then they will. But that has nothing to do with what you allow. Because if you close that door and you don't allow them to dishonor you, then they'll just go dishonor somebody else. They won't suddenly become honorable. They won't suddenly have this light bulb moment where they realize they've been wrong and they'll beg you for forgiveness and stay with you. That is not how that works. Because if they weren't dishonorable from the beginning, they won't suddenly become honorable because you won't allow it. If you're with somebody who's looking for ways to take advantage of you, that is not loving. There's nothing loving about that. And there's no reason for you to believe that it is. Love doesn't work that way. So if they are trying to take advantage of you, trust and believe love has nothing to do. And ego has everything to do with it. So make the distinction between what people are willing to do and what you're willing to accommodate. Because if you're willing to accommodate being mistreated or being misused, if you're willing to accommodate it, there is always going to be somebody willing and ready to take advantage of it because predatory people seek prey. If you're a good prey, they're going to find you every time. They'll smell it on you. You won't even have to say it. That's why they seek you out. Predators know how to find prey. It's what they do. It's what they do best. And anybody who actually is taking advantage of you isn't doing it because they love you. They're doing it because they love themselves a lot more. They're a lot more concerned about their ego. They're more concerned about their comfort. They're more concerned about their convenience. And if they can manipulate you for that advantage, then they will. Now, here's your responsibility. Your responsibility is to recognize that you are being mistreated, and that it doesn't have anything to do with what you allow. You have to be willing to just let them walk away, or to put them out of your life altogether, one or the other. But the end result is the same. You need to make a decision that you aren't going to accommodate dishonor in your life. But if you're already dishonoring yourself, it's going to make it much easier for you to accommodate other people dishonoring you. That is the difference between being a victim and a volunteer. Victims have no power to stop their victimizers from manipulating and misusing and abusing them. Volunteers can stop it at any time. All they have to do is walk away. All they have to do is refuse to be lied to anymore. All they have to do is refuse to respond to that text message. All they have to do is refuse. Just refuse. Just because the phone is ringing doesn't mean you have to answer it. Just because somebody's knocking on your door doesn't mean you have to open it. Just because they send you a text doesn't mean you have to respond to it. There is a huge difference between being a volunteer and being a victim, and a whole lot of us are claiming victimhood that we are not entitled to, because we are full, willing participants in our own victimization, because our ego or our fear is calling the shots for us. If our ego is calling the shots, is telling us stuff like, well, I'm special, I'm different, they just haven't been in a relationship with somebody like me, and once they figure out how fabulous I am, then they'll stop mistreating me. That isn't going to happen. You are not that special. You are not different, and they are not going to treat you any differently. They are not suddenly going to get this epiphany where they decide to be honorable just because your feelings are hurt, or because you got mad, or because you threw a tantrum, or because of any of that. None of that changes anybody. All they do is go find somebody else who's easier to manage. Let them do it. You will be better off for it. Let them do it. If somebody's sending you mixed signals, you're sticking around to get the mixed signal. There's nothing mixed about their signal. If they've already told you that they're not really interested in a relationship, but they always manage to have time to have sex with you, and you allow that, and you know that you're interested in a real relationship, you're not being victimized. You volunteered. You absolutely volunteered. And there isn't going to be this magical encounter. You can't light enough candles or spread enough flower petals to get them to change their mind about wanting to be in a relationship. If they told you that going in, then that's what they mean. Meanwhile, on their side, if you tell somebody that you're not interested in a relationship and you know that they are interested in one, and you start acting like you're in a relationship, you start making this thing look like a relationship to them, you know that what you're doing is giving them hope for a relationship, you don't get a pass for that. You don't get to lean back and say, well, I told them from the beginning I didn't want a relationship, and still call yourself an honorable person. That is not an honorable thing to do. Just because you can take advantage of someone doesn't make it okay for you to do it. Just because you've been given permission to exploit somebody's weakness doesn't make it okay for you to exploit somebody's weakness. People who are hanging on to you because they're hoping you change your mind, don't make it a secret. So don't pretend like you don't know. You do know. And you knew going in. And you took advantage of it because it was easy. And because you were lazy. And because you didn't want to do the work that it took to find somebody who was just as cavalier and unconcerned as you were. You didn't want to be casual. You wanted the experience of being in a relationship without any other responsibility, and you still wanted to be able to fall back and say, but I told them from the beginning that I wasn't interested in a relationship. If they caught feelings, that's not my fault. It is your fault. It is absolutely your fault. Their feelings are not for you to manage, but your participation, that's your fault. Because you didn't have to exploit that weakness, you chose to. And on the other side, if you think you're gonna buy your way into her panties and you don't, you think your pockets are so deep that you can keep them from going to see people that they actually like or that they have chemistry with while they're tolerating you and stringing you along and giving you hope for relationships that are never gonna happen, and you keep emptying your pockets. You volunteered for that. You are not being victimized. You volunteered for that. Now, on the flip side of that, if you know that they want something significant with you and you know you're not interested, but you're taking the favors, you're taking the gifts, you're taking the payments, you're taking whatever they're offering to you because they are interested in something you know you're not interested in, even if you told them you aren't interested, it is not okay for you to do that. You are not honorable because you are honest. You don't get points for that. You don't get points for being honest and then taking advantage of somebody else's weakness. That's what you don't get to do. Not as an adult. If you know that you want to keep your connections casual, then your responsibility is to seek other people who want the same thing. Not people that you know want something more significant that you can manipulate because you like the way it feels, because it's a stroke to your ego to have control of somebody's mind and emotions in that way. That's a weakness in you. You console yourself by thinking you're superior because of the weakness in them. There's a bigger weakness in you, because at least they're being honest about what they want. They're being honest about how they feel. They're being honest in their engagement with you. What they give to you is from a place of seeking a serious connection with you. You, on the other hand, know that and use it against them intentionally because you like the way it feels and because it's easy and because you're lazy and because you just refuse to take full responsibility for how you engage with people. You are never going to get a pass for misusing or mistreating or manipulating anybody into anything, no matter how honest you call yourself being at the beginning. You don't get points for that. You might as well have lied because it's just as dishonorable. You're lying with your behavior anyway. You're saying one thing and you're doing something else. You're still lying. You're still not being honest. Just claim what it is that you actually want and then behave that way. Don't pretend to be something you're not. Don't act like you want something that you don't. Just get what you do want. There are plenty of people who will do the casual thing with you. Even people that you don't have to pay. There will be plenty of them. All you have to do is make it known. Just make it known. But for you to pretend, for you to encourage hope where there is no hope, for you to actually send mixed signals, is deliberate, it's willful, and it's dishonorable. And you don't get points for having said from the beginning, well, I said I didn't want a relationship. Well, I told them I wasn't interested in them, but they keep offering to do this for me. Who would turn that down? You should turn it down. It's your job to turn it down. If you know you can't reciprocate their emotion, then you need to turn it down. That's what you need to do. You don't get to grab benefits while you hurt people in the process. You don't get to do that. So, since I'm still out and about, I'm going to stop right there for right now. But if you want to leave me some comments, feel free. I know this isn't one of my happier ones, but I heard a lot about this today, so I wanted to stop while I still had some sunshine and let you know there is a distinction. There's a big distinction between what people will do and what you will allow. Make the distinction and save yourself a lot of heartache. And don't volunteer in your own heartbreak, because you don't have to. You don't owe that to anyone. You really don't. So I hope you have a great evening, and I'll be back again soon with something else. And by the way, now comes the fun part. I'm planning a live event for the end of June. So it'll be our chance to get together, to get face to face, for you to ask me questions, and I will answer whatever it is that you'd like to talk about. There are a lot of topics on the table already. So far, I'm only planning for 2 hours, but if we have to go longer than that, then I guess we will. But some of the topics on the table so far are, of course, infidelity. That one's not going anywhere. Social media, pornography, long-distance relationships, communication problems. Those are what I have right now. So if you have something that you're interested in talking to me about at a live event, send me a private message, and I will get to as many as I possibly can. And when I work out the details, I'll be sure to create a Facebook event and let you all know so that you can join me. It will be great to finally get to do this face to face, and to do something that is increasingly less popular these days, which is to have a personal interaction without technology getting in the way, so that we can have a real exchange and connect in a meaningful way, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while. So I'm going to create the opportunity to do it. And if you'd like to join me in it, you're more than welcome. So stay tuned for the details. I'll be back as soon as I have them. Okay? Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to share this if you think someone needs to hear it. I know it's a really, really big issue. And I'll be back to talk about other big issues that I see in my inbox often. And again, if you have something that you'd like me to talk about, inbox me and let me know. Thank you again for showing up, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.